Welcome again to Said in Stone, an Ozinga podcast, where we converge with industry leaders, our own expert coworkers, and others on what we've made, what we can build on, and the legacy we'll leave behind. Subscribe to the program on your preferred podcast app, as well as on YouTube for full video of every conversation. Find bite-sized clips of our show at saidinstone_podcast on Instagram. This week, we welcome Chief Executive Officer Martin Willoughby and Chief Product Officer Ranjeev Teelock of Command Alkon, a leading software and hardware solutions developer for the heavy building materials industry. For nearly 5 decades, Command Alkon has specialized in technology results for suppliers and producers of aggregates and cement, asphalt, concrete products, and ready-mix, delivering innovative technology that solves today's challenges and shapes tomorrow's operations. Whether it's a small single plant or a vertically integrated multinational corporation, Command Alkon assists companies of all sizes in over 80 countries around the globe. Earlier this year, Command Alkon acquired Digital Fleet, previously owned by Ozinga Ventures. This combination of an innovative fleet management platform and Command Alkon's rapidly expanding cloud ecosystem, which includes dispatch, material supply, batch AI, payments, and more, benefits materials producers and suppliers with broader flexibility, deeper insights, and exceptional user experiences tailored to the complexity of modern materials logistics. Here's this week's conversation, led by Ozinga CEO Marty Ozinga.
Well, it's good to see you guys.
Absolutely.
I'm glad to have you here. Welcome to the Set in Stone podcast. So what brings you to Chicago?
Well, we at least once a year, if not more, we have our quarterly board meetings of our company is owned. Our company is Command Alkon, and we are owned in part by Thoma Bravo, which is a large private equity firm that was founded right here in Chicago. So we come up here and have our board meeting and report on how we're doing.
How often are you doing that?
So we meet together live in person every quarter, but we rotate between usually Chicago twice a year and then once in San Francisco and now once in Miami. So we're working our way around the country a little bit.
Not bad places to go.
Not bad places to go, no. I enjoy being here in the summer for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully the weather cooperates for you. You have any good restaurants you're going to while you're here?
I will say this. So one of our colleagues that's joining us here today, he was flying up early because he wanted some Chicago pizza for lunch today.
Yes.
So
Did you find it? Oh,
No, I haven't heard from him yet.
No, we haven't talked to him yet, but I think he was en route today. I mean, he was a man on a mission to get him some Chicago pizza today. So
Chicago is known for its pizza, for its deep dish pizza. But the dirty secret is that no Chicagoans really eat deep dish pizza. I mean,
Really?
I'm
Is
not
that
saying
kind of a tourist thing to come in?
maybe once a year or so, because that's about as much as you can handle.
That's true.
But we have many different styles of pizza, and we're known for our deep dish. But most people don't eat deep dish.
Okay,
very
that's
often.
good to know.
But it is kind of a worldwide thing, Chicago-style pizza. But what about for dinner tonight? What you're doing?
No, not yet. But we do usually get together the night before. We have a board meeting in the morning. So one of the things that's good is, a lot of the best conversations happen over a dinner table. So I'm sure we'll be dining at one of these great Chicago restaurants.
There's a lot of great restaurants, so welcome to Chicago. Welcome to the podcast studio, and it's great to have you both. And I just love to sort of start by just hearing your stories, both of you, and just a few minutes. Martin, would you start?
I'll kick us off on that.
Your title, but then kind of where you came from, how you got to where you are.
Martin Willoughby. I'm the CEO of Command Alkon, which is be 50 years. I know y'all are approaching 100 years in a few years at Ozinga, but for 50 years for a software company, that's some equivalent.
Something.
That's a long time for a software company. And so
when is the 50 years?
Next year, 26.
Okay,
2026. And so it's exciting. But I actually moved this past weekend. So as of last week, I was a resident of Charleston, South Carolina. As of Saturday, I'm a resident of Nashville. And so we moved over the weekend.
Wow, congratulations.
So it was, I think it was good for me to travel today. I had unboxed enough boxes this weekend, so it was good. But my quick background and journey, so originally from Jackson, Mississippi, lived in Memphis, Tennessee for a long time, moved to Charleston, South Carolina, joined Command Alkon 5 years ago. So kind of worked my way around the Southeast, right? Mm-hmm. And so now situated in Nashville, kind of dead center in the southeast there. So, but I joined here 5 years ago at Command, and it's been a wonderful time learning the heavy building materials industry and what an impact really that has on communities around our country. I know what a big impact you guys have had on the community here in Greater Chicago.
It's a wonderful industry in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Good. Ranjeev, how about you? How did you come to be where you are?
Well, I'm actually originally from Mauritius. It's a small island on the east coast of Madagascar,
Okay.
right smack in the middle of the Indian Ocean. I've been with Command for about 3 years now, counting. 3 years in the heavy building material industry, so learning quite a bit. But originally from Mauritius and been in the software business for all my life.
How long did you live in Mauritius?
I was 17 when I left. So the bulk of my
Came to the U.S. and been here ever since, right?
I've been living the American dream every day.
That's an amazing thing. Why did you decide to leave Mauritius?
For two reasons. One, education, coming to college here. And why I didn't go back is because I met this pretty southern lady.
That'll do it.
Just, got me captivated with her southern accent. And
Good.
2 children later, and it's all...
And you still have family in Mauritius, and you go back sometimes? Okay.
I do. My dad is still there. I was there this summer. It took me like 2 days to get there, but you know what? We have internet on the plane, so
that was good. And I will say he didn't. He stayed on it. Like he was I'm not sure what hours those were, but he was working the whole time, Marty.
It's a
I'll tell you.
9-hour time difference.
Okay, wow, that's a long trip. Well, I thought it would be great because particularly for people in our industry who've known Command, as you said, 50 years in almost next year. Just your vision, like since you came to Command, and just how things have changed and how the industry is evolving. I feel very strongly, and I think many people in our industry do, that technology has played a big role. Yes. People, whether they believe it or not, that the technology is a big role in the concrete industry, but it has played a major role in the industry at large. But Command Alkon has had a very large role in the technology space in our industry, as you said, now for almost 50 years. So I'm just be curious to get your take on, when you came to the company and sort of what were you hearing from the customer and how your vision for the future with the company.
Yeah, it's really been an exciting journey. Several things really stood out to me. So if you think about it, a lot of the household technology companies we think about, Microsoft, Apple, they were all started the same time period, kind of a mid-'70s. And one thing I'll mention too, Marty, is I'm only the third CEO of the company. So you had the original founder, and then you had Phil Ramsey for a number of years, and then is the second, and then I'm the third. But what I would point out is that when this company started, this was in the age of, and I don't know if the listeners will all remember this, but mainframe computers, very large computers to run businesses, to do that. And so what's been interesting is you think about the last 50 years, it went from, paper and pen and sheets and things like that to mainframe computers to then personal computers and the evolution of all that. And now we're really living in a new generation of cloud technology. So everything is moving into the cloud. And then we're also in the midst of this AI transformation that's taking place. And so I think it's a very exciting time in technology, and particularly in this industry, because I think there's just so much happening so fast that we've all been wanting to do for a long time. Right?
Yeah, I know I have.
Exactly.
We've been chomping at the bit. Sometimes, it feels like it goes really slow in our industry when you see other industries advance so much. But it does feel like we're, as an industry, and I think the construction industry in general at large, there's more and more investments being made in technology. Several
things. So when I first came to the company, what I like to do when I'm in a new role is really listen a lot. And listen to the customers. I listen to you guys. Listen to other customers, and really look for patterns. What does our company need to do to be better to serve this industry? And listen to our employees, other stakeholders, and it really became very clear to me and shared by the rest of our leadership team, and that is that we really needed to be innovation leaders. We needed to be out in front of the market. and really provide great service, what you would expect from any professional vendor that you may have. And so I think there was some real pent-up appetite for innovation in that regard. And so we've really been busy the last couple of years doubling down and investing in that. We're calling it Command Cloud to do that. But it's exciting times. It's a lot of change. I think there'll be a lot of change coming for the industry, but it's going to be positive change.
Great. And I'm curious to hear in general, like, why for Command being in business so long, like the philosophical change, whether it's the ownership changes or whatnot, like why the change now versus in the past where maybe the change of pace didn't seem like what customers wanted on the innovation side?
I think that's a great point. And, oftentimes it is shaped by ownership strategy or leadership strategy. I mean, I think as leaders, we set the tone for where the company goes. But a couple things I would point out back to the Thoma Bravo that was originally based here. All they do is own top tier software companies, and so the reason I'm at Command Alkon.
That's not a small company either. Thoma Bravo, that's a big
company. Huge.
One of the largest, right?
Yeah, but they're one of the largest private equity firms out there in the software world. I mean, they're enormous. And so tons of respect for them. I was working for another company that was owned by Thoma Bravo in the world of cybersecurity. And so when they called me up and said, hey, we just acquired this company, this was in 2020, and I'm going to your point of what's different, right? And so the what's different is a couple of things. I would say that Thoma Bravo came in with a vision of really professionalizing and making Command the kind of company that it needed to be. And then number one, and really that was what intrigued me, right? To come over here, they had acquired this company and said, hey, we really want you to make this a great company. And I knew what that meant because I'd worked for them in the past.
And we're committed to putting the resources.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. And so what they've allowed me to do is to invest in the leadership team. I think leadership makes a huge difference in things. And so invest in bringing leaders like Ranjeev and others to the company. Number one. Number two, invest in the technology to really, in our world, we call it technical debt, right? You have a debt because you need to invest in the technology. And so what we've been busy doing is making that kind of investment. And then I will say, your listeners may or may not be familiar, but Heidelberg Materials is a very large conglomerate based out of Germany that became a minority owner as well. And so
what year was that?
That was in 2022.
Okay.
So what's been really nice is to have a world-class private equity company that is focused on technology, knows what great looks like, coupled with a very large heavy building materials industry player with Heidelberg Materials, who is also committed to Command making the kind of financial investment to really drive the innovation for the industry forward.
Can I ask a question about the Heidelberg Materials? Because I'm sure this has come up, and it's come up for us and other people. Heidelberg, as you said, is a large. They have a very large global footprint. They compete with a lot of people. There's a lot of sensitive information in your system. How have you been able to sort of allay people's fears about their competitor having this sense, at least being an owner in a company that has so much sensitive information?
It was fall of 21 when the deal was first announced, and then it was consummated in the spring of 2022. And so I would say my first, 3-4 months on the job, Marty, we're answering a lot of questions like that from a lot of different customers. And a couple things I would tell you. Number one is that we knew right out of the gate that was going to be. And so I had a list of several kind of core themes I wanted to make sure everybody was very clear on. And one of them was the security and privacy of people's information. And so the steps that we had taken to address that, coming from the world of cybersecurity and things myself, that was a top of mind topic. And then number two, and what everyone may not appreciate is being a German-owned company, Germany has some of the tightest regulations about privacy and security of anywhere in the world in that regard. And so fortunately, that issue went away pretty quickly, but it was certainly a hot topic there for a while.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things that, when you have a key technology partner who has a lot of sensitive information and then all of a sudden, is partly owned by a competitor. I mean, I think that's at least something that needs to be addressed, and I know it's been addressed, as you say. I just thought it would be appropriate to ask here because I think it probably does linger in the minds of some people still.
Yes.
I just wanted to sort of hear it from you directly and have the audience hear it from you directly as well because, I know your character. I know the character of the team, and you want to be above reproach with how you conduct yourselves and build trust ultimately with your customers in the marketplace, and that's something that people are going to need to be very clear about.
Well, it's a great point, and I believe the quote that was shared with me one time was, Martin, after I listened and I said, I listened to what we need to do, and I said, here's our vision. This is our strategy of what we're going to do. And I know you may have concerns about the Heidelberg and privacy or security, all that kind of thing. I said, just loan us a little bit of trust, right? And so what we've tried to do is really earn that trust because I think that's so much of what business and all relationships is built on is trust. And so what we've really tried to do is really have our actions speak louder than our words on this in terms of doing the innovation, improving the service, and then certainly being mindful of that. One other thing I would say on that point, Marty, is that I think it's very important too that Command is not just perceived, but the reality is that we are here for this industry. As I shared, going on 50 years, there's nobody even close like that. A lot of people have made a lot of investments over the years here, and so the approach that we think about this from a leadership perspective is we want to invite, leaders like Ozinga into the conversation and say, help us be better. You're a part of this solution, right? So it's not one voice from a Heidelberg, it's from a whole lot of different voices because we have several thousand customers and some of them are very small businesses too.
Yeah, that makes sense. Ranjeev, speaking of trust and coming aboard, and what was it for you that Martin told his story like that coming aboard?
Well, it's a pleasure to work with Martin every day. He's got the passion and the drive to go. But it's one thing that I anchored around and the leadership team is anchoring around is say what you're going to do and do it well. So every year we have, went to our user conference, told our customers, hey, this is what we're going to do. And the next year we go back and we remind them of what we said we're going to do. We did this $30 million investment in aggregate and asphalts. And the next year we went there and said, hey, we are delivering to that. So a lot of our own performance and doing what we say we're going to do is making this whole Heidelberg effect or the TB investment. Some people were worried about the TB investment coming from a P world. But customers are seeing the progress we're making, the technology we are bringing it to them, and they're using it every day.
Can you tell us about your team a bit? Like what are you leading over there at Command Alkon when it comes to product development?
Yeah, I lead our product strategy and innovation. So we have about 160 some developers that are working on our software, bringing our cloud software to reality. My main focus is to help our customers solve their business problems, right? I ascribe to the jobs to be done theory, which means that the customer will only buy a solution from you if you solve a pain for them, right? And that has resonated to our customers, and that's how we're designing our solutions. And I mentioned this to you before, Marty. We are very user-centric. We built an open, secure platform for customers to use. And now we are doubling down on our AI strategy, being an AI-first company.
What does that mean, AI-first company? What does that mean to you?
So AI is here to stay, and it's evolving quickly. So you need to build your solution to be AI first, which means that you need to contemplate that your next generation users will only use AI to do their work, right? So think about those form fields, and I mentioned this to you before, is like when you're typing out a long form, and that's what database old systems were. But with AI first, you can fill that data, that form, no matter whether the user is talking to you on voice, sending you email, or calling you at a call center. So just bringing all of that technology together to just simplify the human interface. So that's what I think when I say AI first. It's just anticipating how you interact with humans.
Interesting. Martin, how about when you hear AI first, what are you thinking?
Yeah, to me, it's so important. I agree with Ranjeev's point. I think AI is here to stay. And at our last Elevate conference last fall, I was really giving my pitch, if you will, Marty, to the industry to say that it reminded me that in the late 90s, I had taken a job. I was working out in San Francisco, and this whole kind of internet and putting your business on the web and all was really just getting going. And there was a sense of excitement that like change is coming. I remember talking to him, why would I want to put my business on the internet? I don't even know, why would I fool with that, right? I mean, who can think differently today? When I think AI first now, I get this same sense of excitement because it's recognizing that technology is here to stay, and it's a philosophical approach and kind of a design thought that we need to think about this interaction of humans and technology, and what does that look like as we go forward into the future? And we're all, anybody that's gone on and tried any of these has probably experienced some incredible things that you can do with that, right? Write a great poem for your wife or for something if that's what you're doing for her birthday, or work related. But I think also get the occasional hallucination. You're like, okay, I don't need to put that into the poem to my wife or something. So my point there is that we have to build trust with that. And so thinking about that human technology, building the trust, but realizing it's going to become one more trustworthy over time as we do that. And when I say time, I don't think in terms of years and years.
Okay.
I think it's just a couple of years. And that's really my pitch.
That's fast. When it comes to development itself, are you finding that it's accelerating the pace of development for you?
It is. All of our software developers are using that to write code today, to test their code. From a productivity improvement, anywhere between 30 to 50%. And what that allows us to do using some of the latest tooling, and the tooling is evolving every day, right, is helping us create better software at a much faster pace.
Sounds good.
And what it does, it allows us to do more with the people we have, and getting our folks to focus on more the creative aspects than the mundane writing lines and lines of code.
I have a daughter who's 25 and married, and I have a son who's still in college. And so
Is this Trey?
Trey.
Yeah. You could. I did a little bit of research here. Because I'm Martin the Fourth.
Yeah.
And you have a little things going on.
That's right.
You're junior, right? And
well, I'm the third.
Oh, you're the third. Okay.
No, I'm junior,
okay.
and he's the third. Yeah.
I saw Trey. I'm like, oh, that's another way to do the third. I've seen people do that before. So my dad was Martin the third. I'm the fourth, and my son's the fifth.
But now, did your dad go? Did he go by Marty as well, or what?
Just informally, yes, Martin. But his formal, his birth name is Martin, and mine is as well.
Yeah, but
we just go by Marty. Yeah.
But both of y'all
kind of all used to use numbers. Marty 3, Marty 4, Marty 5.
That's the way y'all work.
Yeah. Well, my grandpa was junior, so.
So
Sorry,
Trey
we digress
or third.
Here, but I had to throw
that.
this in here.
Exactly. It's always good to meet another Martin. By the way, there's not enough of us out there.
Now, when I was growing up, I never knew. Well, I knew here and there a little bit, but not much.
We have operations in the Netherlands too, and
there's more there.
Yeah, you have a Netherlands.
Yeah, that's what our heritage is.
That's right.
So yeah,
I noticed a few more Martins over there than when I was in the UK, but over here in the States, there's just not many Martins.
Right.
So the third.
How about Ranjeev's?
There's only one.
Ranjeev, tell me because you've got a son going off to college too. I keep telling them, they're like, Dad, what career am I going to go into? What do I do? I said, well, all I can tell you is I'm kind of riffing off your theme here of the creativity, is that I really think the secret is going to be you got to be open to change. You got to have a growth mindset because we're going to be learning. And you got to be very comfortable interacting with technology, right? And so I said, I don't know what that's going to look like from a career perspective, but if you go and study and get those principles, I think you're going to be okay.
Well, is it Jensen that keeps saying that you don't have to worry about AI taking your job, someone who knows how to use AI taking your job? I mean, I think there's definitely something to that.
And soft skills. AI cannot have soft skills.
That's true.
Right, the human aspect. So my son is going to college next year. He's going to be doing sales, pro sales. And I told him they won't be able to take that job away from you because people buy for people.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
True. That's true.
Yeah. So when it comes to sort of the rollout, the pace of the rollout for what you guys are, can you just give us an update on where things are at? You have a cloud-based dispatch system that's a lot of people are on legacy systems and they have to do a changeover, and just I'd be curious to just have you speak to the rollout, where the technology is at, and how seamless or painful one way or the other the changeovers are on these old legacy systems to the cloud-based system.
No, I think it's where we are, right? I look at this as a generational change, Marty, really, in the industry. And so when you think about it, what we have is, so you had decades of development over this. This kind of shows you the pace of change that we're just talking about, though. Think about it. These systems that run the businesses in this industry all over the world were developed over 20, 30 years, right? Which is a great thing, and they've helped businesses grow and prosper. But it is a generational change time, and so we built the Command Cloud platform, which is what allows seamless integration, no matter whether you're in the ready-mix concrete business or the aggregate business or in asphalt. You can run your business off of one system, which is a big deal. And so, but getting ready for the change of that, a lot of it depends. Some companies are able to get this up and going within a few days. I mean, it just really depends on the size and scale of the operation. But for others, they're using this as an opportunity to really rethink their own businesses and their own business processes and how do they become more efficient. Ranjeev and I were in a meeting not too long ago, and the CEO had a room full of his people, and he said, I don't care how we used to do it. I want to talk about how we do it better as we go forward in the future. And so it was really, what I'm excited about is this combination of business owners like yourself thinking about, how do I run our business better? And then having our technology married with that to go further, faster in your business. And so I think that we've already had a couple hundred customers move over to the new technology. And really, we're seeing over the next 2 years, really the balance of our customer base, I think, will be well on their way moving into the cloud. And so, but people like doing things the way they do them sometimes.
Well, you have a robust thing that works.
That's right.
And there's a lot, right? As they say, you live and die by technology.
Yep.
And so it's the devil versus the one you don't, or however you want to describe it.
Yep.
But I do think, there's these fears that, okay, I'm going to move to the cloud. And let's face it, the biggest companies in the world are brought to their knees. We've read about airlines and others who completely closed down because of, these systems that are so complex and they're actually closed for days at a time based on their system, whether it's a cyber issue or something else.
Well, it's a great point. One thing I would tell you that we're seeing a lot of people do is kind of a walk, crawl, run approach to, right? So instead of doing some kind of big bang, and especially for larger companies, so you start off and go back to the trust point, right? You build trust in the system and to do that. And so maybe you start with a small region.
Okay.
You do that, you implement that, feel good about it, then you move to a bigger region, and then you work your way kind of to the whole. And that's the prudent approach, no matter what the technology is that you're doing.
You, in the last 2 or 3 years now, and one more recently, you've made some investments, even through acquisition, but also in-house. Would you want to speak to the acquisitions on a couple of those fronts?
Yeah, absolutely. So if I go back to this kind of theme, right, is how does Command really take that innovation leadership position on a global perspective? Because I think it's good for the industry, right, to have that. And so we looked at it as a combination of build and buy, Marty. And so we said, where do we need to build and where can we complement, like any other technology company?
I think a lot of companies face this question all the time. Do we do this in-house or do we, bring it in-house kind of thing?
Build or buy.
Yep.
So for us, what we said is, look, we felt like that the platform itself and the dispatch operations was so at the heart of what we do that we needed to build that. And we wanted to be, I don't know if this will resonate or not, but I thought it was important, and this is Ranjeev's skill set here, is taking pride that we build things here.
Sure.
Right? Like we can build great things. So we want to do that. And
can you give me a quick sense of like where does that happen? Like that building for you guys? Like is it people remotely all over the world, or what does that even look like?
That's a great question. Yeah, it is. We were a very virtual company in that regard. Okay. And so there's really not a big room of engineers developing it. It's Ranjeev, I would say your team's spread out all over the world.
All over the world. We've got engineers in the Netherlands, in Ukraine.
I wouldn't have guessed the Netherlands, but interesting.
Colombia, we've got India, got a lot of folks in the U.S.
I think that's helpful for people to understand that, you're building something, but it's not in a factory, somewhere, that's everyone's co-located. It's people from all over the world working together to build a product that you wouldn't have thought that, that long ago, but now here we are. Where people are able to do that. Is that a common structure in your world?
I think it was during the COVID days.
Sure.
I see a lot more folks
Definitely
coming back in the office.
Okay.
But Marty, I sit in front of a camera all day long. I meet Martin once a quarter, but we talk to each other on a camera. We collaborate.
All day, every day.
You don't have a podcast studio in your lobby?
I want one. I have podcast envy now.
People have podcast studios in their home office nowadays.
I need that. I like that. I want to answer your question about the acquisitions. And then I'll tell you an interesting point on that, though, is when you're very distributed and virtual, and you have this too, because you have people all over. If we get a minute, I'd love to talk about culture a little bit, because I think that's such an important glue in all this. But just to round off your question about the acquisitions is, we chose to build where we said we'd build. And then on the automation business, there are thousands of plants around the world that use our batch systems to do what they do every day. It's the heart of their operation. And what we wanted to do is we wanted to move down the innovation path with that. And so last summer we acquired a company called Marcotte, which was out of Canada. Great company, been in the industry a number of years. And they were doing some innovative things in terms of batch AI, talking about AI and the world of all that. And so it was a great acquisition, really bringing their team together with our team, groups of people that have been thinking about this industry for a long time. And so what I would say is that we are now on a very accelerated path in terms of batch AI, remote batching, a lot of cool things happening on that. And then the last one, and this one's a little closer to home, is in the fleet world, is digital fleet. And so we just announced and are integrating digital fleet into our operations.
Yeah, Martin says it's close to home. Digital fleet was something that we were a part of starting, and then eventually it evolved into what is now Ozinga Ventures. From your chair, why were you interested in digital fleet, and what is sort of the vision going forward for that part of the business?
Well, first of all, I will tell you that whenever we acquire a new company, I like to do all onboarding of new employees at Command Alkon, and so I spend time, get to know them, share my story. And so I've just recently been able to meet with all of the digital fleet team members. A lot of them are, I know this is got a Chicago flavor to the podcast here. A lot of great Chicagoans as part of that team.
Yeah,
and
a lot of talent in Chicago.
A lot of talent. I mean, I am super impressed. And so I've loved getting, and I'm kind of learning all the different parts of Chicago as well with that, Marty. I'm like, now tell me where you live, and I'll pull it up on the map, and I've learned. But anyway, so why did we do the acquisition of Digital Fleet? I would tell you that number one, it was to fulfill this commitment around innovation and what we're doing. And I met Tim Oakes, is the CEO that was running Digital Fleet for Ozinga Ventures, and Tim's a Chicagoan and worked for several big name
tech companies
around here, which is really neat to hear about all that. And he has assembled a tremendous team around him as well that's doing all that. And so number one is when I got to know Tim, and just what a great, genuine person, and we're very values aligned, and what kind of business to run, what do you focus on, and how do you do it, people-centric. So that's always, whenever I don't know about you, because I know y'all do a lot of acquisitions too, I do look at the culture.
Yeah, it's a very important piece.
Right?
Yeah, it's for future succce.
Am I going to create a culture clash, or is this going to be a culture complement? And
it's critical.
I felt like this was going to be a real culture complement. And so what we wanted to do is, now here's an interesting dynamic, and I don't know if this applies in your business as well, is that Digital Fleet and Command were competitors.
For sure.
Right?
Yeah.
And so when you bring two teams together that were competitors, I was like, okay, on both sides, everybody's got to switch gears. Instead of competing now, we're all on the same team. But what I try to do on that is we have a bigger picture. Like it's not about who we competed with. It's about what is the future focus? What are we trying to do with this fleet line of business? And how can we together really do that? And so, Tim has taken the leadership role. So Tim has stayed with the company, and Tim's taken a leadership role in really guiding us into this next era for the fleet product. So we're super excited.
Well, I'm excited for you in getting the whole team, and I'm excited for the team. For us, we're usually on the other side. We're usually on the acquisition side. We rarely ever sell anything. But I think I would echo your comment about if we are going to acquire something, we want to make sure that the culture is aligned and the leadership, if they're going to stay, that the vision is similar and that we have values that would be complementary to each other. And when I have to say that when I asked Tim what he thought of this idea, he was very receptive and open to it and actually encouraging it. And to me, that spoke to the relationship that you had cultivated with Tim, because ultimately it's about human beings and having trust for each other. Yep. And, I can assure you that we wouldn't have done it if I didn't sort of have that endorsement from him, because it's still a very, this all is very key to us. We continue to be a customer of we had been a long-time customer of Command Alkon. We will continue to be a customer of Digital Fleet, however that's branded in the future. Yeah. We find that oftentimes we've acquired a lot of multi-generational businesses where the owner has a real concern about the legacy that he's been stewarding and his people, and oftentimes they want to stick around in town and not hang their head in shame that that the company that he entrusted to and his people, that they're being treated well and whatnot. And we want, in this case, the shoe was on the other foot, and we wanted to feel that way too. And so, to some degree, the story is still being written, but we feel encouraged because of people like yourselves and the trust that you're building with people and making it about people. And, ultimately making the investments in people, but also in innovation and technology. And I would just, I wanted to sort of have this conversation publicly because we have people, even on our end, who we do business with, because it's just so unlike Ozinga to sell things. Right. I don't mind saying this, but we were struggling with, Tim's team having lots of wonderful ideas. Right. And our pockets aren't Tomo Bravo pockets.
Well, if you think about it, a couple of things in there. I think number one is we take the fact that, like you said, you guys are users, customers. Digital Fleet has a great customer base that it had been serving, and so it's super important on us. This goes back to when I started in this industry, Marty, is look, my words may not matter. Just follow the actions and see what we do here and see how we, our focus from day one, and Ranjeev can tell you, is when we first started planning, coming together, we said the absolute priority is to take care of the customers, both Command customers and Digital Fleet customers, right? Neither group should be negatively impacted by this. This should be positive. And so take care of the customers and then innovate, right? And so bringing that group together, and then with Tim, and see, now we can get to that laundry list of things that you've been wanting to do, right? That's the goal.
Exciting.
And so, and the reason for that is, yes, we do certainly have the support of our ownership on all that, but it's, because we serve a global market with this, and we can do it. It just, that's one of the things that has been exciting for the Digital Fleet team is that, we can sell this around the world.
Yeah, can you speak to that a little bit? Like, who are you? How many countries do you service your products to now? Like, how far and wide are you? And where will you eventually go for where you're not today?
Yeah, it's a great. So we currently, believe it or not, we have customers in over 80 countries.
Wow.
And so it's definitely a global scale. And that's, again, what's exciting and fun for this wonderful technology and what you guys, at Digital Fleet built here. So sharing that vision. So 80 different countries we sell. So we have offices ranging from Australia to Europe, Latin America. We really pretty much dot the globe in terms of where we service, where we have customers, and we're expanding that out as we really take this Command Cloud. This is not just a Chicago or a U.S. or this is a global generational shift in technology for the heavy building materials that we are the gun has fired, and we are in it as we speak. So
and the point, just to unpack it a little further, is that you can have the confidence, or your owners can have the confidence to make the investments because of the customer, the TAM, if you will.
That's it.
It is as large as it is, with the whole world being at your disposal to be a customer. I think the fear, and I've shared this with you before, is you acquire something and then sort of put it on a shelf, and it stays, as far as the advancement of it, it stays right where you bought it.
Yes.
And then you're just sort of squeezing it for cash kind of thing. The commitment that you're stating publicly, and you've said to us, and is that that's not the plan with things going forward, and you're proving it. Like you said, talk is cheap.
That's right. That's it.
Show me the money. But to hear Ranjeev talk, and to hear like the product that are coming out, and how AI is changing things in a hurry, that now's the time to make the investment, and there's a worldwide customer base out there that you can justify this investment.
Here's what I would tell you, Martin. I'm so glad we're talking about this. And look, one thing, with this era of Command, if you will, is a huge fan of transparency, right? And so we have a broad customer.
Here you are on the podcast.
We're on the podcast, and any question is game.
I'm not
here.
sure how Ranjeev feels about it.
That's right.
I'm pretty good about it.
Any question is game. But what I would say, Marty, is that for us, so we've done 2 acquisitions since I've been CEO. And so the first one was Marcotte. And when you look at where we are 12 months later in the evolution of, our batch product line and what's just right around the corner with that, I hope that would be a good proof point for customers who have been, fleet customers of Digital Fleet as well as Command, is that's what we're about. You know, we have to be. It's not.
And I'll say one other thing about the acquisition of Digital Fleet. Tim did his homework too about that first acquisition, and this is how like your track record matters, and people do their homework, again, how you behave gave him confidence to. In this case, not only did he endorse this idea, but he came aboard to the team, and he wants to work with you. So it says a lot about what the team you're building, and because Tim's and his team are really high caliber,
Top-notch.
top-notch people, incredibly gifted, incredibly high integrity, and really made a ton of progress in the industry with customers, building trust, building relationships. And I know there's a lot of work to do,
Yes.
especially all over the world.
Yeah. Well,
But,
it usually, it kind of emanates out
Yeah.
from here. This is still our largest market here in the U.S. But yeah, I mean, I'm so excited that he's doing that and the team to do that. But are we perfect? No, right? But I would tell you this, that we have a team that wakes up every day aligned on this vision of what Command can be and what we hope to do in this industry, and this idea of that we're around service, we're about innovation, and we're doing these things. Right? Don't you want to work at that kind of company?
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, who wants to work in technology if it's sitting on the shelf?
Can I just hit on the ownership question a little bit more,
Yeah,
though?
please.
Because, you seem like a wonderful person, and Ranjeev does too, and, Tim, I know, is wonderful, and I care about that whole team that's going over to you. But at the end of the day, private equity has its reputation, and I'm not saying all private equity is
Sure.
bad by any means.
Sure.
But there's a short-term kind of turnover, as opposed to like a long-term family business. I'm fourth generation,
Right.
almost 100 years. There's a different type of approach. That's just, that's not any shade on private equity. That's just what they do.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you sort of address that issue for like a long-term sort of relationship building type of approach, whether it's for you and your team,
Yeah.
or the people you're acquiring, or the customers?
Well, those are all stakeholders, right?
Absolutely.
In what we're doing. And so I think it's a great question. And I think there's at least two parts to that. One is I've alluded to Heidelberg Materials
Right.
within this conversation, who is, in addition to an owner, they're a consumer of the technology, right? So they care whether the product is continuing to innovate. And, their stated position is that they desire to remain a long-term minority owner.
Okay.
And so, I think in a perfect world, markets are funny, but in a perfect world, we're a public company. So there's, that depends on a lot of market conditions and things like that. So in terms of Thoma Bravo, I would say two things.
Can I get a clarifying point on that?
Yeah.
What do you mean by that? In a perfect world, we're a public company.
Oh, in a public, well, because I think that to me, this business is really for the industry,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, in a public in a public ownership, right, you could have even more and more people that
Sure.
would
Be an owner.
be an owner stakeholder.
Yeah.
in
But do you
Command
see
Alkon.
it as an IPO as an exit kind
Not,
of thing?
that's not on my horizon.
I just wanted to clarify what you were saying.
Yeah, no,
okay.
that's not on my horizon. That's not on my horizon. But what I will say is that from a Thoma Bravo perspective, they are a couple of things. One, they've owned it for 5 years now, and have really been a supporter of our strategy and what we're doing, and made the investments that we're doing. And I think most people talk about private equity ownerships of 3 to 5 years. And so, I wouldn't be surprised for them to continue to hold it for some period. But, eventually they will need to sell that. And, my expectation would be a likely another private equity partner that would be a good complement.
Which is common, right?
It's very common. And I'll give you an example. And again, whether it's the employee base or the customers are not going to have those lived experiences, but I'll just give you a quick example. I'd worked for another company, as I mentioned, a cybersecurity company that was owned by Thoma Bravo. And when I was with the company and we sold it back in 2018, that's when Thoma Bravo got out, and they sold it to another very, reputable private equity firm who liked what Thoma had done and wanted to expand on it, right? And so now that company is about double the size of the company that I was at when they sold it in 2018. So my point that I'm trying to make is that when a company is on the right path, But I think a lot of people think of private equity as they come in and they just squeeze every last dollar.
Yeah, there's
out.
sort of an old school kind
Right.
of mindset about that's all they do.
Yeah, they just come in. We're not going to do anything. We're just going to squeeze the cash out. And I think I'm sure there's certain segments of the private equity world, but the ones that operate in the technology sector that I've interfaced with, which have been multiple, is they look for great companies to buy that they believe are executing on a good strategy, and they want to come in and help it grow further, faster. And so that's why, for me, for our team, and for our customer base, and I'm very comfortable sitting here with you as a customer going, I believe that Command's future is very bright, no matter what private equity owner may own that in the future.
Well, that's good to hear. Martin, would you kind of talk to your own leadership journey? One of the things I'm curious about is you've written 3 books. Yeah. I'm trying for years now just to write one book, and I can't seem to get off the time.
That there was a book that you were working on.
Well, it's not. I'm finding it's very elusive. It just keeps it keeps eluding me somehow. But I'm just curious to get your sort of insight into your own leadership journey, but some book writing, and kind of would you share a little bit about that?
Well, now you're going to get me going on a passion topic here.
No, go for it. Please do.
So we're going to have to shut it down here.
No, we want that in here.
Right. So first of all, I think leadership matters so much in neighborhoods and communities and businesses. And I mean, just look at how cities thrive or businesses thrive under different leaders or don't thrive, right? In my career, I
mean, you're not just a money-grubbing capitalist? No. Come on.
What are you talking about? So I come at it from a perspective of I've seen the positive and negative impact of leadership. And so I kind of carry that conviction. And so let me tell you a little bit how I'm going to give you some encouragement on the book journey, right?
Okay. I'm all yours.
I would say probably about 15, 20 years ago, I started doing column writing. I started writing. I so missed the window on this pod. Like all the interviews that I did, that if I could have recorded them, it would have been great. But I didn't have it. I was just taking notes and tried to. But anyway, I started.
That's why we called it Set in Stone too, because it's there. This is permanent.
It's permanent, for better or for worse, That's. But what I did is I started interviewing leaders, and for about a decade, I wrote a leadership column, and I would sit down with the leader, and I would want to learn their leadership journey and what they did and how they do that, and so all of that. Led to a real passion and just further commitment around this topic. And so that got me comfortable with the idea of writing, and all of a sudden I had a deadline that was coming up on me all the time. And so that certainly helped. Those ended up turning, so I both from also wrote a faith-oriented column as well. So both of those columns ended up leading into writing and books. And so, but I will admit,
I was reading some of your in my homework. I was reading some of your faith posts and stuff. I was very encouraged by them. No, it was great. Good stuff.
Good. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, I'll send you a copy of the book.
Great.
As a follow-up,
right?
Right?
It's not easy to. I mean, I can't get on Audible.
No,
I can't get it on my Kindle.
Intentional faith is coming your way.
From a technology guy, like I mean.
No, look. Here's the good news. Okay. So here's the good news. Well, I'm about to give a big confession here to you. Okay. So, I have been working on a latest book for a good 6 years now. So I was doing good, and then I really hit the wall, and I've rewritten it and rewritten it. But this one is really trying to capture. So we'll have to talk more, but the gist of it is I'm in final proofing.
Okay.
And when I release it, I'm going to get all of the other books kind of back digitally, where everything can be downloaded from one point and all that, and that's where I needed some help. But the key, and I'd love to get your perspective on this, is the theme of the book that I'm finishing up is to lead yourself first. And what I mean by that is that, so many people that I've come across think about leadership and like getting somebody else to do something. But to me, it's about if you can't lead yourself well, why would I want to follow you? And so doing the inner work to be a leader who's worthy to have fellowship of them is really, so the whole theme of the book is an encouragement that there are timeless principles going back for hundreds,
Can we get a
if not
sneak
thousands.
peek on a few of them?
I give you
one or two.
I'll give you one or two
Yeah.
just to get out there. But it really starts with two of the first ones I start with are you got to know yourself, right? And so if you're not self-aware, if you're not aware of your leadership blind spots, if you're not aware of how you're coming across to other people, it's going to be really limiting. And so, whether it's personality tests or different things, just so starting with awareness, and then I'll mention one other one I think is super important in today's world. And the chapter is on, I call it tending to your garden. But it's basically that it's kind of the analogy of the airplane thing where
Sure.
it drops down.
That was the first thing that came to my mind when
Right.
you said what you said. Yeah.
Right. It's if you're not, but and a lot of people have heard that, but think about it on a day-to-day perspective, right? If I'm not if I'm not taking care of myself, if I'm not doing the inner work, if I'm not maintaining health and vitality, I'm not going to be a great leader, right? And so I think we can exhaust ourselves. There's always an endless amount of next projects, next tasks to do. So creating rhythms in life to allow you to do that. So that's hopefully that's kind of the idea. I mean, you're a leader, been leading for a long time. Does that leadership of yourself, does that strike a chord there?
Very much so. Very much so. I think more than ever. I think I don't know if it's because I'm getting older. I don't have the same energy level I used to, but definitely, I just learning I need to be more aware of strengths and weaknesses. To your point, blind spots, but also managing my health, both spiritual health, physical health, mental health. And maybe other leaders feel this way too, but there's sometimes where you feel guilty. You're almost giving too much to yourself, and there's a hurdle to get over in that respect. Is this selfish? Because it can cross over into being, something vain or something that's just too self-absorbed or something.
And I wasn't advocating for sure.
No, right. But I think there's just a hurdle to get over for some of us as far as taking care of ourselves. Like we're not worthy, or like, I need to take care of everybody else before I take care of myself. So I think a lot of leaders need to hear that. It's important.
Well, I mean, I'm certainly not, there's many categories, but how many, I heard this a lot during COVID, you talking about pastors burning out.
Right.
How many pastors do you know that just, because you're in constant service, right? And so I think the hard part is, to me, great leaders are great servants of others, right? That's what leadership's about. And so when you have a heart for that, it's easy to skip tending to the garden and then just exhaust yourself on that. But then, not turning it into a narcissistic bandy project either, right? That's the other extreme is somewhere in the middle, I think, is where it's at.
Yeah. Well, we are getting close to our end of time, but I just wanted to say thank you to both of you, and that we are looking forward to getting to know you better as we continue to work on development of the relationship, of the products, and very excited to see where it leads, particularly with all these AI advancements and how it's going to really, to your point, it's a generational transformation of our industry, and our customers are going to start to see these things more and more as well, and I think they're wrestling with too, how does it apply to them, and a lot of this is to some degree an issue of change management with everybody involved, our own coworkers, our customers, just the back office, all kinds of different people, and but I think it's our job as leaders to figure out how to, keep the trains moving on time and stay relevant, and yet being gracious and patient, at the bell curve of, some people jump right in and are first movers, and other people, are very skeptical and are laggards and happy with the way things are, and that's just human nature, and we have to continue to do it. But we're glad you were able to be here today and get to know you better, and just very thankful for the opportunity that you came in here, and we're very transparent, and I'm sure There will be opportunities in the future, and you're always welcome. And if you do want to do your Audible books, you're welcome to use the studio.
Hey, listen, hey, look, I hope you'll have you back. We can talk once I get that. We'll talk more about the book that you're working on here, and I'd love to. If I could say just one quick word to wrap, Marty, is first of all, thank you for having us. Just letting us come visit you today to do that. You were asking me about the digital fleet, and of course, everything that I said is exactly spot on. But the other real benefit is really from when I first got in this industry, and just for your stakeholders to know that it was very evident to me the forward thinking, the innovation that Ozinga has as a company, and the impact that you have. And so, in having grown up in a family-owned business, it all resonated with me. And so that was really, really the silver lining for us, is to hopefully continue to expand and really learn from the innovation ideas and things that you have for this industry.
Well, I feel life's too short not to enjoy the people that you work with, whether that's vendors or customers or your coworkers or whatever. And so it's a joy to get to know you better, both of you, and to continue to work on making progress together.
It's going to be fun.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Thank you, Mark.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Okay.
Make sure to subscribe to Set in Stone on your preferred podcast app, as well as on YouTube for full video of every conversation. Keep up on our social media and company updates over at ozinga.com.